A few months have passed since my encounter with the very odd game. I haven't picked it up since switching it off, and I soon forgot about it. I left it under my bed in a small box of games, not playing it until one Friday afternoon when my mother was cleaning my bedroom. I got back from college and went up to my room to see her moving the box from under my bed and placing it on the bed. "Sorry, dear, I won't be too long," she said as she continued to clean my room. I took the box, gave my mother a hug, and went back downstairs, grabbing my DS Lite on the way. I threw myself onto the sofa and opened the small box to find a bundle of different games. Which one to play? I looked around the box until I saw a small green game card hidden under all the other games. It was that weird Pokemon Leaf game that I hadn't played in so long. I remembered being stuck in the Pokemon Tower, but I was eager to play the game just for old times. Upon going to the title screen, I found there was a new file named Sorrow, which had a gameplay of 10 minutes. From what I remember, the last file was called Leaf, but whatever. Selecting the file, I am taken into the game. I am in a school building facing the eastern wall, and in the top corner it displayed the map's name, which is Neglect. Also, a ghost stands at the blackboard. I checked to see if I still had an Eevee name. I checked to see if I still had the Eevee named Loneliness, but instead I have a Banette named Unwanted, at level 18. The sprite of Banette is missing its arms, its right eye is a black void, and there's a trail of blood from its left eye. It also appears to be frowning with a modest nature and met in ? At level 18. Its moveset is Curse and Grudge, except Grudge is fresh out of power points. Oh yes, and it also has the ability Drizzle, which summons rain when entered in battle. I speak to the ghost and an Eevee cry is heard, and as he says, "Where did Loneliness go? Kick." I exit the house and I am in a fairly large area with a gate surrounding the area and 3 ghosts standing outside the gates to the north, while staring at the house I just exited. The grass is red like earlier in the game, and I find 3 signposts and another house, along with one of those people you see in the Pokemon Tower wandering around. I interact with the signpost, which is to the left of the house I left, and it says, "He brought Leaf here." I go to the signpost, which is directly right from the house, and that one says, "Trainer Tips." It was my only choice. I just had to. And the final signpost, south of that one, says, "Trainer Tips." She left me as well. Before approaching the final signpost, I decided to speak with the person. She said, "Loneliness," and I am given a yes-no answer. I didn't quite follow what she meant, so I chose no, and she says, "Don't lie." I try again, this time selecting yes, and she says, "Why did you?" Okay. From what I gather, Leaf also neglected this Eevee, just like Blue did. I explore the second house to find I'm at a Pokemon Center with a fog in effect. Behind the counter is a Mew and a ghost, both of them saying... At the stairs leading to the top floor is the male trainer, Red. I walk my character over to him and he says, "I don't know you." "What? We met in Lavender Town." Maybe he was saying that because Leaf abandoned Eevee as well. I go up the stairs and I am teleported to Route 22, right outside the gate. It's raining, the grass is red like earlier, the map title is Look, and the music changes to the abandoned mansion theme. I try entering the League building, except the doors won't budge, so I chose to follow the path that would lead me to Viridian City. While following the path, I pass a signpost. Upon interacting with the signpost, I hear an Eevee cry as the text displays the words, "Raticate died." He doesn't notice me still. The wall which you can normally hop over is changed to a gate, and on the other side of the gate spells the word, "Look." I continue around the path until I get to an area where I cannot pass due to gates blocking the way. On the other side of the gate, there appears to be another word formation, This time it says E. Just a little north from here is a small door in the cliffside where I am able to enter. There are tiles spelling out the letter E, so that's 2 E's I've seen now. To the north of the room, I see Professor Oak. I try walking past him, but he stops me and says, "Loneliness isn't the only one, E, E, E," and sends me back. I walk back to where I entered and exit through where I warp off to the cave named Loneliness. By the looks of things, I am at the northwest part of Mount Moon. The music ends in silence, and the cave is filled with a fog. I walk south where I find a signpost, and just like with the previous signpost, I hear an Eevee cry as I interacted with it. I feel so unwanted, says the signpost. I continue walking south where I am met with Blue, and he says he was nothing but a curse. The screen fades to black and fades back in, and Blue is nowhere to be seen. I chose to explore the cave a bit, walking eastward from where I spoke to Blue. Suddenly the room changes as if I exited through a ladder. From what I gather, I am in a lower part of the cave with a large pathway shaped like a C. As I walk around the path, I find a third E written on the ground. I head towards the end of the path to a waiting ladder, where I exit out of the cave into a route with a single path heading east. Similar to the first path in the game, except I am surrounded by endless cave walls instead of gates. The music begins to play as I notice it's the Lavender Town theme song. There is a signpost here, and as I interact with it, I hear an Eevee cry as the text appeared on the screen saying, "I'm not a curse." Towards the end of the path, I find a single patch of grass, and as soon as I step into the grass, I am engaged in battle. A level 10 Eevee scrolls in, but instead of saying "Wild Eevee appeared," it says, "Loneliness looks sad." I send on my level 18 Bayonet, and Drizzle is activated. Since Bayonet is fresh out of Grudge power points, I have no choice but to use Curse. Unwanted use Curse. Unwanted wants Wild Loneliness to suffer. Wild Loneliness use Grudge. Wild Loneliness is bearing its emotions. Rain continues to fall. Wild Loneliness is feeling agonizing pain. Since I can't use any other attack, the battle just continues with that until Loneliness finally faints from the curse, except it says, "Wild Loneliness died." My Bayonet gained some experience, and I am set back to the overworld. This time it's raining, and the map's name is Suffer. There's no music playing, the patch is missing. There is a door on the wall above me, and the overworld sprite of my character has changed. Her body is completely white, her eyes are red, and she has red markings on her hands. I check my trainer card to see her sprite matches her overworld sprite. I check my Pokemon to see I still have the Bayonet, but it's back to full HP, and Curse is back up to 10 out of 10 power points, but Grudge is still at 0 out of 5 power points. I go through the door, and I appear outside Lavender Town's Pokemon Center. The grass has changed to red. It's still raining. The barriers have changed from wooden ones to white ones, and they are also closer, leaving me with a little less space to explore. The Pokemon Tower's door is missing. The music kicks in as the Pokemon Tower theme, and there are 4 signposts beside the tower in order. I read each one of them from top to bottom, and the text shows as follows. "Why didn't you listen to me? Now you're cursed. You could have saved us both. Do you regret?" I remembered that the signpost before the battle with Loneliness said, "I'm not a curse." And before that, the signposts constantly labeled Loneliness as a bad curse. This led me to believe that it was Loneliness who was speaking to the signposts. Outside of the barriers are 3 ghosts, and when I explore the houses, there is no one in them. However, in the last house I check, which is the one most southwest, I find that the tiles are white with E written on the floor in green. Also, there is a Cubone stood on the letter E. When I approach the Cubone and interact with it, it says, "Fourth letter E." I exit the house and I appear in the bedroom from the start of the game, except the bed is missing and there is a letter V on the floor. I interact with the TV and it says the following. EV. Put the E where it belongs. 4 E's and a letter V. Spelling out Evie. I head downstairs and the only thing in my room is another TV. I interact with it and it says, "You no longer exist. You have no purpose. Maybe you can ask for forgiveness?" I leave the house and I am in Powhatan. There is another changed overworld sprite, as I am nothing but 2 red eyes and a red mouth. Stood in front of me, looking up at me, are red and blue. I first decided to check if my trainer card had changed. 4 minutes gameplay, no sprite, and the name had changed from Sorrow to Look. I then checked my party to see I have a faceless level 10 Eevee named Put to Rest. Its nature is modest, and its only move is Guillotine. I speak to Red, and he says, "Where is Leaf? Where is Loneliness?" Right away I noticed that the word loneliness had its missing letter E placed back in it. I then spoke to Blue, and he says, "Leaf got the brunt of the curse. It's all my fault." Just below them is a signpost, and when I interact with it, I heard an Eevee cry, followed by the text, "Loneliness was put to rest. R.I.P." As soon as the R.I.P. appeared on the screen, the credits music from Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald plays, and I am locked into the text and unable to leave. The music would play till the end, and once it did, I went right back to the start of the game, where I had the level 10 Eevee named Loneliness. I understand the story now, but do you understand the story?